How's it going today, guys? This is Dan with another video from the Rapaway Homestead, and today I'd like to go over a few tips and tricks with you guys to keep your backup generator for your home running like new and being good and dependable when you need it most. Let's get started. All right, so a few of the items that we're going to go over today is general maintenance items. Now, I've done a full video on the maintenance on this exact Predator 3500 watt generator. However, these tips and tricks will help you with any generator regardless of make, model, brand. They all operate about the same, and these things will help you regardless of what brand you have. So a few things we're going to go over is general maintenance, oil change, and how often I recommend doing that, and things to keep your fuel system serviced and help prolong the fuel in this machine so that way when you need it, it'll start when you go ahead and pull it out of the shed. Maybe there's a major power outage or a time that you're going to need this to start up. So we'll go from there. So the first thing we're going to go over is the fuel system. Now, the fuel systems on these machines, again, whether it be the Predator or any other brand, the carburetors on them are very small and the jets can get plugged up very easily. So the first thing I recommend doing is running a good fuel stabilizer on any one of your machines. Now, this happens to be the Sta-Bil brand. I like using the Marine 360. It lasts a little bit longer. It's a little bit better for ethanol in the fuel, but that'll help with that. And I recommend running this, mixing it in your 5-gallon gas can or directly into your generator every time you use your generator. And this particular brand calls for 1 ounce, treats 10 gallons, and this is a 32 fluid ounce container here. So this will last you a very long time. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's a good first defense at keeping your fuel system from gumming up. The second thing I recommend doing is, when you can, always running premium non-oxygenated fuel. Up here in Minnesota in the Midwest, we have ethanol in all of our fuel up to 10% unless it's listed as non-oxy. It'll say on the pump. I recommend running that. That keeps that ethanol out, and it'll keep the fuel from breaking down a little bit longer, if you will. Shelf life for regular 87 fuel that you put in your vehicle is only good for 30 days from the time it was manufactured. So by the time it gets made, trucked to the fuel station where you get it, sits in the tank and you pump it out, it's a good thought that half that shelf life is probably already used up. In our vehicles, it's not a big deal because we drive them all the time. But in these little machines like this, if that fuel sits in there without a fuel stabilizer or anything, it can gum these up in that 30 days, especially if they're stored in a shed or in a hot location. So the next thing we're going to go over doing on this particular generator, and again, will apply to any other generator, is I always recommend draining the fuel out of the carburetor. So we'll go over how to do that on this machine right here. So the first thing you're going to need to do is access the side panel of your machine. So on a Predator, it's just 2 8mm head bolts up in each corner. Now, depending on your generator, you might not have side panels. There might be a quicker access, but all of them are going to have a way to drain the bowl on your carburetor. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. So this right here is the bowl to your carburetor. And right here, there is the drain, and it goes down to a line that runs out the bottom of your generator. Now, what you're going to want to do with that is, I like to slide my generator to the edge of your work surface or whatever you're working on. You're going to want to grab a container. I use a clear mason jar. The reason is you can see if there's any moisture in your fuel or anything when you go to drain it. And you're also going to need a flathead screwdriver to loosen the drain on that. So now I've located my flathead screwdriver. We're going to hold our jar underneath here and simply loosen this drain. And let the fuel drain until it quits running. It usually doesn't hold a lot. Now, on this generator, when you shut the generator off, it automatically shuts off the fuel. If your generator has a separate fuel shutoff valve, you're going to want to go ahead and shut the fuel off on that generator before you go ahead and drain the bowl. So as you can see, it doesn't hold a lot of fuel, you go ahead and close that drain. Again, only loosen, you know, a turn, maybe a turn and a half. And that's the fuel you drain. Now that fuel is what would sit inside this carburetor and gum things up as it sits. Fuel in small quantities, like in the carburetor, it will gum up and go bad a lot faster than in the main fuel tank. Okay, well now that we have fuel stabilizer in our fuel tank, we've got our carburetor drained, and we have our access panel back on. The next thing we're going to want to do is make sure that the oil in the machine is new and has freshly been changed, doesn't have too much time on it. On any generator, whether you use it a lot or you barely use it at all, I recommend changing oil on it once a year. Oil can break down just like fuel and start to lose its properties within it. So it's a good idea to drain that oil every year. This generator only takes about half a quart of oil. It's not a huge expense to do, and it's a good insurance to know that if you need this to run because you have a main power outage, a big storm came through or what have you, that it's ready to rock and roll. The next thing I recommend doing is not storing these with a full tank of fuel. I recommend as little fuel in that tank as possible. Not completely empty, of course, but just not full. That way, when you put fresh fuel when you're ready to run it, you have mostly brand new fuel in that engine. That'll first enter that carburetor, and it should fire right up. Some of the other things I recommend doing with this is going to be to run it. That's the best thing you can do, is go out, start your generator up as much as you think of it. Ideally, minimum, I'll start this machine up once a month is absolute minimum. Now we do a fair amount of camping, so I'm usually running it that much anyway, but if I wasn't, I start all my power equipment up once a month at least. Start them up, make sure it's running good, let it run for 10, 15 minutes, even a half hour, what have you, use it a little bit. Shut it off, check everything over again, drain that carburetor, and that way you know that it's always in good working order, and it's going to be good to go for you. All right, you guys, so I hope you found this video useful and helpful for you. If you just purchased a generator or you're getting one for home backup, I have a full service video on exactly how to do the oil change, clean the spark arrestor, and all the general maintenance items on this specific generator. If you have any questions on your specific generator, feel free to drop a comment. I'll answer them best I can. Let me know what make and model you have. If I'm not exactly familiar with that one, I'll look it up, figure out how to do it, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So if you wouldn't mind dropping a comment, like, and subscribe on this video for more kind of how-to and homesteading type content and helpful tips and tricks. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps me out a ton. Until next time, guys, you have a good one.